relation to this motion and what Mr. Granger is attempting to do. Minister Rohee has not done anything in the House. He has done nothing. In other words, when all the noise was being made, Mr. Speaker, when all the noise was being made, it was not Mr. Rohee who was making the noise. And also, Mr. Speaker, I hear our history being used about other members. Now this comes to your question, can the House restrict or not? One cannot so 4710 talks, when it's talking about a resolution, it's talking about it in the context of 47, where a motion can be brought against a member who is behaving disorderly in the House at that time. It has nothing to do with Standing Order 10 to allow for you to use it with the House. If you want to look for that, find it where it's provided in the other standing orders. Do your homework. But it's not under 4710. And so, Mr. Speaker, your question about due process, your question about does the House have the power to restrict a member? Again, we go back to parliamentary custom, practice, conventions, standing orders, and constitution. Those are the tools that we have at our disposal. I have seen in the motion a reference to the UK. Mr. Speaker, the ruling you brought the last House, in which you got legal opinion, made it clear that you did not have the power to remove a minister nor a member of parliament. We have a recall legislation that has been used once in this House by Mr. Corbyn, leader of the opposition, against Mr. McAllister. It has never been used, and it is in the Constitution of Guyana that the head of the list, the representative of the list, is who comes to the Speaker and says, the party that was has lost confidence. So, Mr. Speaker, this approach to the Constitution is totally flawed, because the Constitution makes it clear. One, in terms of a minister, it is the president. In terms of a member of parliament, it is the representative of the list. It gives no power to the parliament to remove a member as a minister and or a member of parliament. But Mr. Speaker, I listen, Mr. Speaker, to Mr. Williams patiently.
The point of order is that nowhere in the proposed motion is there any mention of point of
I understand the basis of your point of order. I think that we have to give some latitude in the argument. While the motion may not speak specifically to a removal or otherwise.
Mr. Speaker, with due respect to you,
go ahead.
You asked the question to us who wish to speak that does the House have the power to restrict a person from speaking? Mr. Speaker, the first page of this motion refers to the previous resolution to do with the first resolution. And the last whereas clause talks about the convention in the House of Commons that a minister who loses a no confidence resigns as a minister. And I was trying to develop my argument. And that is that, first of all, in relation to your question, the House has no jurisdiction. In relation to any comparison with UK, it has no jurisdiction because the UK Parliament has no constitution above it. And they have a different. They don't have recall legislation. So the two issues are not comparable. You're talking about chalk and cheese. The next issue, Mr. Speaker, is that how would this House treat with a minister or a member of Parliament who one wishes to discipline? It reserves to the House the issue of discipline. Under 47, Standing Order 47 only deals with disorder and discipline in the House. There is no other part of the standing orders that deal with if a motion passes and wants to tell a minister to jump over on the other side that he should do it. You have no such power. The House gives no such power to a motion brought by anybody. But on the issue of can the House rule? Yes, on this issue, Mr. Speaker. It can on this issue. When Mr. Bashir got up in 1991 March and walked to the mace and picked up the mace and moved the mace, and then having been reprimanded by the Speaker, he then threw a glass, which did not hit the Speaker, by the way. But, can I finish? I mean, you're getting what you want. Can't you get the people speak? So, Mr. Speaker,
What happened,
what happened? There's a minute somewhere in the Hansards. The Singh and the then Minister of Regional Development, Minister Jeffrey Thomas, ably supported and seconded by Ms. Amna Ali, a young MP in those days, that supported a motion that did not expel Bashir. In fact, the records do not show that Bashir is expelled. It brings a motion calling for Mr. Bashir.
Mr. Brennan, you rise.
What's your point?
On.
Thank you very much. I believe I heard the speaker say that she's quoting from the Hansard of 1991.
Just allow him to speak, please. What is the point of
What
order?
is the point of order? No such document was brought by this clerk in this house, so I'd like to know.
Advises me that these are the minutes and not the answer, and I'd like to get a copy of that question for you.
She's saying it's a minute.
Mr. Speaker, wonderful in this house that when we discuss the issue of Hansards, that Mr. Greenwich paid no attention to some of us who spoke, who read out based on information from this house of what minutes and Hansards were available. However, this is minutes, sir. This is minutes.
With respect, we are having a debate on a very, very serious matter. The issue of missing or present Hansards, with respect, will not be exchanged at this point. I myself need to see what is being quoted from because I have not seen it, but certainly that issue is not the subject of our discussion this afternoon, and I will not educate them.
Mr. Speaker, if I would be allowed, this is not my handwriting. This is the minutes of proceedings of the 45th sitting of the National Assembly of the second session, 1990 to 1991, of the 5th Parliament of Guyana held at 2 p.m. on Monday, the 4th March, 1991. The Speaker at the time, is 6th Durant. At this point, the proposal for the expulsion of Mohammed Bashir. The Minister of Regional Development moved the following motion and amendment thereto. The minutes regrettably do not give you an idea of all the things that happened, but it says the following, that the motion reads as follows. Whereas on the 14th of January 1991, Mohammed Ishaq Bashir, without lawful permission, removed the mace from its customs base on the table of the National Assembly, and whereas on the date aforesaid, Mohammed Bashir assaulted the Speaker by violence throwing a drinking glass. Whereas such misconduct on the part of Mohammed Bashir is an insult to the Speaker and the dignity of the Parliament. And whereas the assault on the Speaker constitutes a crime punishable by law. And whereas Mohammed Bashir's behavior on the date, therefore, constitute grossly disorderly conduct. That Mohammed Ishaq MP be expelled from the service of the Assembly. And that is moved This is moved by, I said, Minister Jeffrey Thomas, and the persons who spoke on the motion were the Prime Minister, Mr. Green, and Comrade Ali. I'm just reading from the minutes. In those days, they didn't say honorable knowledge, it was comrade. And the motion was put and carried and amended. It doesn't elucidate in any way after that what's happened. In fact, it seems to be that after that happened, the meeting closed. In fact, the Parliament met from what was 2 o'clock, around 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. And that was the only item on the agenda. Mr. Speaker, if you doubt this, I'm sure to get but I got this from the House. I did not make this up. Mr. Speaker, the House, the issue we're talking about, does the House have the right to restrict? Under privilege, and the matter of privilege, is that the issue is that it has to be things that would bring down the repute of the House and the image and dignity of the House. It specifically allows, in terms of all parliamentary practice, from of the chambers, the precincts of the Parliament buildings, from gate to gate. The resolution isn't about disorderly behavior that Mr. Granger is bringing here. Mr. Granger is not bringing a disorderly behavior motion on his own right that during November 8th sitting, Minister Rohee behaved bad, thumped the tables, didn't listen to the speaker. He has a right to do that then, sir. Any one of us to move that motion in your defense. But there is nothing that you can bring that Minister Rohee has done in this House. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, the right to suspend a member, the right to prevent a member from speaking. I remember, maybe you will remember, and I'll just divert a minute. Mr. Speaker, you may remember that when Mr. Honorable MP Aubrey Norton was in this House, there was a very heated debate one night. And the speaker walked in, and they ended up having an altercation between the speaker and the Aubrey Norton, Mr. Aubrey Norton. And the speaker warned again, and the altercation continued. This was a one-on-one between the two gentlemen. And the speaker said, at that point, I will not recognize you. Mr. Norton was not recognized for several sittings. Now, recognized is different from not speaking. And so, Mr. Norton was found to have been disrespectful to the speaker. Minister Roy has not been disrespectful to anybody in this House. Least of all, or most of all,
Was Mr. Norton permitted to attend committee meetings and to participate in
yes, sir. Mr. Norton attended Ministry of Foreign Services Parliamentary Sectoral Committee, but he was available, of course, because he was not really good attender in the first place. The second thing was that Mr. Norton came to the House, and he never put up his hand to test recognizing him. So he was never suspended. So, Mr. Speaker, when we talk about gagging and preventing in the House, if a member is disorderly, the rule of the Parliament is that the Speaker recognizes your hand. And you wait for the Speaker to recognize you. That is the level of where the order of the House is kept. If the Speaker feels that any member has been out of order, he can do several things. Not recognizing, which means he could put up his hand after times, and the Speaker will look at a different way. Because always in parliaments, and you go back to UK Parliament, it is who the Speaker sees first. And there's nothing to require the Speaker to see or not see a person. And also in relation to the issue of whether, so therefore you really can't prevent a person from speaking unless they have done something in the House or in the precincts of the House. Like, Mr. Speaker, there was an issue in 2003, which Dr. Leslie Ramsamy would remember, where an issue was brought in this House to do with this House, because some members of Parliament were blocking the that in response to your question, that the first question is that the ability of the House to prevent or restrict a member from speaking does not exist unless a case is being made out for disorderly behavior or behavior that would bring this person to dispute.